Welcome back to Startup Dugout by Dell Technologies, a podcast series where we talk to entrepreneurs from India's biggest tech startups to go back to that time when. That time when you needed allies. That time when you needed sound advice and good mentors. That time when you were looking for the right tech partners who can accelerate growth. This podcast series is hosted by me, Sairee Chahal. I'm a serial entrepreneur, angel investor, and evangelist for women's internet. I currently run SHEROES and Mahila Money to create internet ecosystems for women, helping them with employment, entrepreneurship, and access to capital. On Startup Dugout by Dell Technologies, we discover how industry leaders respond to challenges in their entrepreneurial journeys. We also learn how initiatives like Dell for Startups empower companies through innovative technology, strategic guidance, proven practical capabilities, and expert consulting assistance. On this episode, I sit down with Amit Agarwal, founder and CEO of NoBroker, an online real estate platform that helps its customers buy, sell, or rent a house without paying any brokerage. With 1 crore properties registered on its portal, it facilitates 50,000 rental transactions and around 5,000 sales every month. That's approximately 3,000 crore worth of transactions every month. Launched in 2014, NoBroker has raised 365 million USD of institutional funding so far, becoming India's first and only property tech unicorn in 2021. I asked Amit about his journey getting into the prop tech industry, challenges early on, and how NoBroker uses technology to improve user experience. All right. Welcome to the podcast, Amit. Very nice to have you here. I've been a fan of NoBroker for a very long time, and I'm just so happy to be recording this podcast with you. And of course, in my head, NoBroker is a mystical company, and we'll unravel some of those things that we have seen and witnessed. But let me jump right in and ask you a little bit about your own journey. Where did you grow up? What did you study, and what kind of background you came from? And yeah, walk us through the back frame a little bit.
No, sure. So, Sairi, very, very honored to be here. And I have been following you and Shiro's and Mahila Money journey for a long time. And we have a common investor also. So, very happy to be here. Looking back, so my father was a civil servant, and his was a transferable job. So we stayed at a place only for 2 years. So the average stay was 2 years, and then we'll basically move to somewhere else. And I think when you move so much, either it makes you an introvert or it makes you an extrovert. In my case, I became an extrovert, so the latter happened. And he was positioned in UP, and I basically moved across UP, maybe as small city like Hamirpur, uh, or little bigger city like Agra. So I did my 10th and 12th from Agra, and so I think those years were great. And my mother is a housemaker, and I have a younger brother. Um then I basically, like everybody else, I did pretty. Uh, I, I was focused on studies. I did pretty well in my class 10th, and then the obvious conclusion was that you need to either become a doctor or an engineer. And IIT was something which was considered difficult even then, and so I prepared for JEE. Then I went to IIT Kanpur and did my engineering there. And once that challenge was fulfilled, then the lookout was for the another challenge, and which was CAT. So I gave CAT and then went to IIM Ahmedabad. So that has been a sort of autopilot sort of journey.
Quite a playbook. and then you are here building like a super interesting company. I totally resonate with the UP founder swag. I grew up in Muzaffarnagar, and I think we have to unravel this theory at some point in time. Maybe I'm going to form an association of UP founders, and and of course, no broker, right? Like, I think you're a company that's made a lot of people happy, and I am sure you've annoyed a lot of people. So first, tell us, how did NoBroker happen? Like, where did it come from? Like, did you have an interest in real estate? I mean, normal people don't have interest in real estate, right? So how did you get into it?
So I was working with PwC Management Consulting for almost a decade after Ahmedabad, and as you rightly said, basically had no interest in real estate, had no inclination, nothing to do with real estate at all. The only thing which happened is that because I also moved a lot of cities, so my experience with brokers was not great. I'll give you some stories. I was staying in Calcutta for some time, and I gave some advance money to the broker, and he just vanished with that money. And it is me who is basically calling that broker again. And whenever he faced any problem, there was no response. So he sided more with the owner than me. But I am the one who is basically who has paid the full month of brokerage. So had a bad experience there. Then moved to Bangalore. And the moment I moved to Bangalore and I told the broker that I'm looking for a flat here, and the way in which they typically do is they will converse with you, little chit chat. And the objective of that chit chat is to figure out as to how much do you know about this market. So the moment a broker came to know that I am not from Bangalore, I am shifting from another city, he showed me the worst homes. The worst home. I remember seeing a green colored house, or basically floor on the top of another independent house, horrible, and asking for a big amount of rent. And only when I revolted, he started showing me something which made more sense. So basically, I understood that he was trying to push his non moving inventory. And with another broker, which I went to, he immediately called the owner and pretended as if he knows us as a family for a long time. We had barely met 30 seconds ago, and he promised on our behalf that we are a pure vegetarian, which we are not. And somehow, as luck would have it, we ended up with that flat. And every time the owner will come, my wife will try to hide the eggs or whatever we could. So the experience basically told me that the broker is here for a quick buck. He basically wants to close the deal. That is his prime objective. And hence, basically, when me, Akhil, and Saurabh, all of us pooled in with our similar experiences, and that's when the no broker idea progressed.
Amazing. And you've had quite a journey, both ups and downs. And of course, we all know from the startup ecosystem your office and hooligan incident. And of course, you've kind of disrupted this whole market that belonged to the quick buck maker. And tell us more about that. Like, when did this happen, and what was the first response? What did you first launch with? And then, like, what caused so many people to become angry?
So we basically launched with the rental platform, basically saying that people can rent without needing a broker. We'll ban the broker, and you can contact the owner or a tenant directly with each other. And that was going fine. And of course, because you are trying to make a C2C, which is customer to customer network, it's far more difficult, because getting both the micro locality right is a pretty tough task. And although this incident about the broker attack seemed pretty interesting now in the hindsight, at that point of time it was hugely painful. And the way in which it happened was that suddenly one day we saw some 50-60 people standing in front of our house. And what we had done was we had taken one independent house in HSR layout in Bangalore as our office, uh, because it basically cost less, etc., etc. Suddenly we saw some 50-60 people standing outside, and we thought perhaps it's some procession, right, which is happening. But they had actually come to our office to beat the employees, to break computers, because in their mind, the concept of cloud doesn't exist. So in their mind, if they break computer, if they basically harm employees, then the company will shut down. So that was their objective. And I think a couple of clients told brokers that they are going to first check no broker and then come to them. I think that's what basically irritated them. And so they started basically slapping our employees, and basically, and the woman employee started crying, and we basically immediately closed the iron grill door that we closed, and like the naive people that we are, we immediately called police, thinking that police is going to come and help us and solve this situation. The police came, and after some time, we saw that we are three founders are the one who are going in the police jeep to the police station, while the brokers are still there. And we're like, hey, we caught, what did we do? We even left the office that we are supposed to protect. And then the same basically establishment tried to convince us as to how we should not file a complaint against the broker, and how taking panga with the local guys is not a great idea. And thankfully, because of that iron grill door, our employees basically could protect themselves, and things did not escalate further. But the situation worsened after that. So they started chasing the women employees towards their home post working hours. Many of the motorbikes outside the office were damaged. So we understood that there is no way in which we can function from there. So almost overnight we had to vacate. And even when we were vacating so whatever we could carry, we just carried in the bag, and we vacated, which means that everything else, desktop, server, everything was basically lying there. The customer call center number, of course, got disconnected. So the entire operation basically got disrupted without knowing where we now have to go tomorrow. So huge inconvenience to customers also. And later, when we were trying to basically bring all the other fixed assets from the office, and we chose night to basically do that, even in the night, the vehicle was chased by brokers to figure out as to where the next location is.
Did you create a hideout? Did you create like a bunker zone after that?
No, no. So you have come to our office today, and if you would have noticed, there is no facade outside office. Yes. There's no board which says no broker outside the building. So even today, we basically try not to take too much of panga with them. But yeah, so
I mean, I know that building business in India is not easy. I've faced similar situations where we had to vacate our office, literally carrying our laptops out. Of course, I'm based in Delhi, where the MCD has its own rules every now and then. And of course, dealing with this and still being able to grow where you have, it's super commendable. And maybe you should build a masterclass on building a business in the offline world for a lot of us. But the truth is, you're building a technology business. You are building everything on back of all the cool things we are hearing, a lot of machine learning, a lot of AI. Tell us a little bit about your technology stack, the role of technology in creating what you're doing. I know you do video walkthroughs, and you do a lot of interesting experiments, and also a little bit about your technology partners. I know that you work with Dell, and walk us through a little bit of that partnership as well.
sure. So Dell has been our partner for long, and we are very happy with Dell. It has such an amazing legacy which Dell has. So very happy on that part. In terms of our technology stack and the approach, I think one thing which is very different in NoBroker versus say other startup is that we have always approached technology as a means to solve a customer problem. So let me give an example. We are not trying to we have never tried to launch something which looks cool and sexy to the engineers to build it, but for customer it is useless. So we have always tried not to do it. So for example, when you think about technology, think from a customer point of view. As a customer, what do we want? When we go when we go and see a property, it often happens that if you're talking to your friend or partner while visiting the property and giving a hint that you like the property, the broker quickly catches it and starts telling you that, hey, this property is fast moving and you need to give the token by tonight, as the property is going to go, right? So now how do we solve this problem as a tech platform? So what we did was we basically made this public. So how many views and contacts are happening on a property are now public on NoBroker. So as a tenant, as a buyer, you can come and you can genuinely find out whether this is a high demand or a low demand property. Similarly, the price of the property is a thing which is very opaque because the government does not publish that data. So now what we do is we procure the data from the government side, and we also have our own data because customers transact on the platform, and we make that public. So we have a rent to meter concept which says that whether this property's rent or price is more than what the average is or less. So the objective of technology is to basically make the customer life easier so that he can figure it out. And AI is basically often used as something which is earth shattering and more to basically tom one's tech's prowess rather than what it does to the customer. So our objective is कि ये बताओ customer का फ़ायदा क्या होगा. So for us, what AI basically means is that once a customer comes, can I learn the way in which TikTok learns from which type of videos you are seeing? So how can we figure out that whatever customer properties he's seeing, how can I show the next property which matches with that? So be it AI, be it technology, I think the theme that has been constant is how does it matter to customer? So I think that's the approach that we have been taking.
It's wonderful to hear how NoBroker uses technology to make it easier for consumers to look for their dream home, and how Dell has been there for them on their journey to becoming a unicorn and beyond. Now, apart from offering trustworthy digital solutions, Dell for Startups helps companies reach their goals and defines new routes for their success. They help startups in India to accelerate their digital journey and solve some of the biggest challenges in the country, keeping Dell's core purpose in the forefront, creating technologies that drive human progress. We now head back to Startup Dugout by Dell Technologies to hear from Amit Agarwal about how NoBroker became India's first and only unicorn in its field, how they keep up with changing consumers, and what the future holds for NoBroker. And if I may ask you to brag a little bit, give us some top numbers from the business so far. I know you do what 50,000 rentals a month or something like that. So give us a little sense of the numbers.
So overall, see, so numbers now look pretty decent, but there has been years and years of excruciatingly painful years when nothing moved, and the numbers were basically just the same every month. But I think there's a power of compounding and power of network effect that as time passes by and if you just stick to it, then slowly customer starts trusting you more. So today, in the past 8 to 9 years, we have added 2.5 crore customers, which is a decent number. But now we are adding 0.75 crore new customers per year. So whatever we did in past 8 to 9 years, we are adding 1/3 of that every year now. Not because we are doing something special, but because we have done the grunt work. Yeah.
Amazing. I think I totally vouch for that power of compounding. I started SHEROES with probably no women on the internet. And of course, one would have never imagined that this market's going to be 400 million women. Right. And of course, now we are deep into the trenches with capital and things like that. Let's talk about investors a little bit. And of course, walk us through your investing journey. I know you turned unicorn. You've raised upwards of $200 million. Give us a little sense of how did that go? And of course, walk us through some of the interesting no's that you might have received.
So we were never an investor, darling, until it seems now.
Oh, that sounds so familiar.
Yeah. So for the first 1 year when I was bootstrapping with my co-founders, it was extremely difficult because housing.com basically raised a humongous amount of money and amazing founder. And everybody told us that they are going to do exactly what you are going to do in case your idea is so good. So why should we basically bet on you? And so for 1 year, there was absolutely sukha ekdam. And then somehow Elevation basically said, okay, these guys seem good. Let's take a bet on them. So they funded us. And then again, it was basically complete absence.
When was the first round, Amit?
First round was early 2015. Wow. Yeah. End of 14. And then for the next 4 or 5 years, no Indian investor funded us. No one. Because everybody basically felt that there have been amazing players in real estate, but no one made money. So कुछ प्रॉब्लम है इस सेक्टर में, मतलब लोग ये सेक्टर तो हम लेके जा ही नहीं सकते इन्वेस्टमेंट कम्युनिटी के पास. तो nobody wanted to touch the sector. And we are like, hey, we don't know what's the problem, but we are doing right stuff, etc. etc. वो हमें बात नहीं करनी. So there have been many no's. I think even with Elevation, there must have been at least 20 no's before Elevation said yes. So pretty longish process. And after that, we were extremely frugal. So we basically try to save every penny that we can, enhance the house instead of our corporate office. And we basically took money from wherever we could. So we found a guy in South Korea. and we took 1 or 2 million from him. One person in one individual HNI in Japan from him. One person in one fund in Singapore. So we kept on basically doing whatever we could. And B Next, Teru from B Next was extremely helpful, huge believer in us. And I think after many years, मतलब हमारा डेक वही का वही है, आज भी हमारा डेक वही है, वही स्लाइड है जो कि 9 साल पहले थी. So nothing has changed. But I think over next 4 or 5 years, from 14 to 19, the numbers basically started growing and compounding. And in 19, then finally General Atlantic came, and then Tiger came, and then basically then more motion started happening. So then we raised $350 million so far. A majority of it is still with us because we continue to be very fearful.
Fabulous. That's so cool and so hard relate. I think sab kuch, I can totally relate to everything you said. All the no's, all the HNIs, constructing the cap table, and of course still building. So overnight success takes a decade, right? So very, very interesting. And tell us a little more. You said you own majority of the company, you're frugal. How are you seeing things from now on? Because now all eyes are on you. You're a unicorn. I think the pressure's real. And how are you thinking about both the property market in India? What does future for NoBroker look like? And how do you think of your core KPIs? Like, do you see yourself to be a profitable listed company, or do you see an exit on the way? And like,
Yeah, so I think what has happened is that the focus on revenue has been really high from day one, because we have seen many real estate companies faltering because of the lack of revenue. So that focus continues, and we'll keep on accelerating it. What has changed is that from a core real estate company which only does rent, buy and sell, we ventured into packers and movers, painting, cleaning, home loan, legal documentation, home interiors. So this is what we did in the past 3 years, and thankfully with an amazing team, we have been able to make progress on all of these items, and hopefully in the years to come, this will become bigger and bigger business. Real estate as such, I would say last 10 years have been bad. But hopefully this decade will be great, because the prices have been stagnant for far too long in many pockets in metro cities, as many people who invested in real estate in the past 5-10 years will tell you. So now we are seeing huge, genuine end consumer demand. And post COVID, all of us are aware about how rents moved like crazy in Bangalore and many metro cities. So next 10 years, hopefully will be good for real estate. The objective is to finally be profitable and give an exit to our investors, most probably through listing. Until then, which is perhaps 2 to 5 years away from today, the objective is to keep on making it as large a business as we could, because even today we are only in 6 cities. So we are not in Calcutta, we are not in Ahmedabad. And today also, if you want to buy a property or rent a property, despite no broker being there, it's not an easy task even today. So even today, if you want to take a property,
oh, it's the hardest thing you probably do.
yeah. So hopefully one day it will be less harder than what it is today.
Very, very exciting. I think it's a goal worth chasing, and we are in a market that's up and coming. And like you said, you haven't even touched tier 2 India. You haven't probably gone to the cities where you could possibly be. Let me sort of talk a little bit about, and you mentioned, we do everything for the customer. Now you're doing the whole stack. You're cleaning their house and bringing them loans. Walk us through how you think about as a founder around customer centricity, and what can another founder learn from that, and how did you sort of engineer the organization to fit into it? Clearly you are a growing organization. When people come in, how do they imbibe this?
That's an amazing question. And I would tell you, before being a founder, I used to read a lot of management books, and everybody used to talk about how customer is very centric and how it is extremely important. And I felt, ठीक है, इसमें क्या बड़ी बात है, मतलब ठीक है कस्टमर पे ध्यान देना चाहिए, इसमें मतलब क्या स्पेशल बात हुई. But I think the way in which customer changes their own demand and aspirations from the same product over years is mind-boggling. So whatever customer expected from a NoBroker platform 5 years back has now changed significantly. So that there are two things that basically we keep on doing apart from listening to customers constantly. One is that any complaint which comes for the customer comes to our mailbox. All three of us co-founder, we have a mailbox. You write on Twitter, you write on anywhere. it will come to our mailbox. So we know every customer who has been unhappy. And second thing which we have been doing, especially from the business team perspective, is that all the leaders uh, will necessarily physically meet one customer per week. So all the leaders that you basically see on the floor, all of them are going physically, fixing up a meeting with a customer and meeting him. For example, if you are looking at owner plans, then you will go and meet a customer who has taken an owner plan. So that basically keeps us current as to what is customer saying, because customers are also changing. And had our competitors listened to the world which was changing from a broker to a no broker world, it would not have been possible for us to disrupt it. So the objective is that hopefully nobody should be able to disrupt us fast, as long as we keep on listening to customer.
Great insight. And of course, nothing beats meeting customers face to face. And customers are getting more demanding, I would say. Uh, very cool. My last question to you, Amit, is do you sleep in office? Like, or do you do anything outside work as well? What does life look like outside work, if any?
Yeah, so work is always around in terms of mind and in terms of emails and so on. But thankfully, because now the team is so good, I'm able to take off. In fact, if I go for a vacation, I think the revenue jumps. uh, yeah, and I basically play squash and badminton a lot, so that I play very regularly. And weekend is generally spending more time with family, with work always in background.
It's always playing out. Very cool. So, great motivation to see founders at such scale able to get time for themselves and strike some balance. Fun chatting, Amit, and I wish No Broker goes to as many cities as possible in the soonest time. Big fan and wishing you all the best as you scale this.
Thank you so much, Sairi. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Amit Kumar Agarwal, founder and CEO of NoBroker, on Startup Dugout by Dell Technologies. If you are an entrepreneur that's forging your path with your dreams, Dell for Startups can help you in your digital journey and transformation. For more details, check out the links in the episode description.